Quick note before we start. Apparently, my microphone decided it was satisfied with 90% tonight and didn't record a damn thing. The camera did, though, and considering tonight's episode is called The Last 10%, there was no way I was finishing it. So the audio is a little different tonight. Seems appropriate. Let's go. Ever been working on that project? Trying to get the chore done or whatever it is? And you're just about there. Just about at the end. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You start looking around, thinking to yourself, well, this looks pretty good. Might be done. We've all reached that point. We put in all the effort, put in all of our energy into whatever it is we're working on, trying to get it to the finish line. Sometimes it's for hours, sometimes for days, weeks. A lot of times with work, it's months if you're in this construction field. And you get down to the end and you're done. But what you don't realize all the time is that last 10% of the job is when the job goes from good enough to great. And tonight we're going to talk about it. We deal with the last 10% in construction a lot. It's the closeout. We used to have a guy who worked for us that his nickname was the closer because he was really good at getting the job done at the end. Doing the punch list walkthrough, getting the as-built drafted and in, helping with the closeout documents, and closing out the job completely done. And that last 10% is something that I think we struggle with at times, and I don't think we're the only people. I think that last 10% is a hard part of the job for a lot of people, because it's the point that you're walking around and you can see things that are done. Rooms are done, baseboard is on, the ceiling is done, it's painted, your doors are just getting outfitted maybe with some closures, you're putting some toilet hardware in, stuff like that. The lights are on, you got power, toilets are flushing, and you're just putting those finishing touches on it. And anybody who builds something knows this feeling. It's that last 10% that can sometimes take forever. We're looking at things like finishes, is the sheen on the paint the right consistency all the way through? Are the conduits that are exposed, are they straight and parallel to one another? Things like that. You make the little tweaks here and there. And it's the cleanup, making sure everything's picked up and wiped off the walls, windows are clean, floors are mopped, everything is done. And then you get to that one little thing that doesn't line up, right? And it's like, oh, we gotta fix that. But maybe somebody won't notice it, right? How many times have you gone through, well, nobody really notices it. I do it in my own house all the time. I notice crap that's not done all the time. It drives me crazy, but there's only so many hours in the day. And you get to spend that entire day, walking through, doing those punch list inspections. In my case, I live in my own unfinished house. It's one of the biggest hypocrite things that I have on my plate. Is I make sure that the jobs are done for other people, but my own house still has things that are unfinished. Believe me, the message is the way to listen to this one. Is do as I say, not as I do, right? We've all heard that. And that's the way this goes, because you're walking around the job and you got to turn it over. Somebody's going to take possession of it. They've spent a lot of money paying you or me to get it done just right. And so you want to be just right. There's that feeling of, I want to be perfect when it gets done. And a lot of people check out when it's just good enough. You're not going to see it from my house. I got guys who work for me that's their attitude. Not going to see it from my house. Not my problem. It's good enough. It's good enough for me because I'm never going to look at it again. And that's really what sets people apart from good and great. I mean, you strive for greatness, right? You strive for perfection in what we do in everyday life. In everything that we do is to strive for perfection and hope that you achieve greatness. Nobody says we're going to strive for greatness and hope that we're just good enough. You don't hear that in sports. If a sports team did that, they would have no fans. The fans would hang them. It just doesn't work that way. But I mean, the start of everything, you back up before you get to that last 10%. You go back to the beginning, right? And we're feeling it right now. It's fall outside and football season is starting. People are at training camp right now. And it's new. It's a new season. It's a new beginning. And everybody's excited. And we can't wait until the season starts to see what kind of team we're going to have out there, right? It's a new job. You're breaking ground somewhere. You're going to build something magnificent wherever it is. Or it's a new building that you're building. Or it's a new workout program. We get this around the first of the year every year, right? Everybody's got a new workout program. I'm going to get in shape this year. And they're excited and they're pumped up. And my New Year's resolution, everybody has that new energy when something new comes around. You know, it could be a new project, new idea, it's a new relationship. You know, this new podcast was exciting. I was pumped up at the end. Now it's like, it's a podcast. But you get a new goal or you want to do something or something triggers that thing and that new. And there's all of that energy around it starting up. And everybody's really excited to get whatever it is going. Let's go. We're excited. And you can usually, on those, when it's new, you can see the progress quickly. Right? You're breaking ground. You get the big yellow tractors out there, you can see them pushing the dirt. Or if you get a new building, you can see the structure going up into the air. You can see all of this stuff. You know, you're trying to lose weight after the holidays. You can see the scale changing. And that's the whole point of it all. I mean, the standards get determined not at the start. That's the motivation phase. That's what gets you started. The standards get determined at the end. What happens after you put in all of the work you're putting in? What happens at the end? You're going to close it out? You're going to close strong? Or are you going to say, I'm good enough, I'm close enough? And it's easy to care when everything's new. It's easy. The real test comes when you are tired of looking at it. You know, that last 2 or 3 pounds you're trying to lose on the scale. I'm there. I've been there. And I'm on the upswing right now, so it pisses me off to no end. But you get to within a couple pounds of that goal weight, and you're almost there, and you're like, man, I can have that Snickers bar today. And then pretty soon one Snickers bar is 2, 3, 4. All of a sudden you're a big guy again, and we're fighting that. But the start is exciting, and now I'm at the end, and it's like, man, that last 10%, I got to refocus. Because that's the dangerous phrase, right? Good enough. Good enough. We've heard that. That's good enough. There's a time where it's good enough. And we speak, and I tell you, there's times where it's good enough. We work in a field of construction where we deal with tolerances. A tolerance is something that's acceptable. Sometimes it's plus or minus 1/10 of a foot when we're grading. Plus or minus an inch. It could be an inch high or an inch low. That's a tolerance. And so when we're grading the dirt and we're within that tolerance, then yes, good enough is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're grading the dirt for everything to sit on top of. Yes, good enough works in those instances. When you're finishing the concrete, though, that's on top of the dirt. The bottom of the concrete you can't see. The top of the concrete you can see. And that's when good enough is not good enough. Good enough needs to be taken to the next level, and it needs to be great. The concrete finish needs to be as close to perfect as you can get it. And that takes a lot of effort to put into it. And we're dealing with it all the time. All the time. Concrete is an easy one to pick on, but it's also one of the hardest things to do. It's hard to finish concrete because you have a set time limit in which you have to get it done. So you're up against it. You don't have enough manpower out there. You better know how much concrete you're pouring. You better not let the yardage get away from you and pour too much concrete that you can't finish it with the manpower that you got. Because the finish on the concrete is something that you're going to see forever. Forever. Good enough is not good enough. It needs to be great. And you need to strive for that great perfection. You know, we had a couple of concrete pours where they'd come out and that slab was like glass. You could see your reflection in it. As close to perfect as I've probably ever seen a slab. And that is something that is very hard to achieve and is not achieved very often. And that's above and beyond good enough. That's above and beyond great. That's damn near perfect. When you can get to that level, you are really hitting top dead center there. But really that good enough phrase, that's just kind of another way of saying, I'm tired of working on it. You know? I'm tired of putting the effort out for whatever it is that I'm doing it. I mean, sometimes it's good enough, really is good enough, but somebody's nitpicking the heck out of it and they're just tearing it down because they can. And sometimes good enough in the long range vision is good enough, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes we just get tired, or we're impatient, or we're over budget, we're distracted, or we're just ready to move on. And it comes time to decide, are we hitting the standard? And that's where you can't see it from my house. Can't see it from my house comes into play. And I've heard guys say, can't see it from my house, it's good enough. Can't see it from my house, it's good enough. Good grief. Is that really what we're doing? That is not acceptable. That's not acceptable in anything that's going on in the world. In the world. Take construction out of it. Take your relationship. Can't see it from the bedroom, it's good enough. Can't see it from the kitchen, it's good enough. Well, love you, baby, but I can't see you from where I'm at, so it's good enough. You can't see what I'm working on for where you're at, it's good enough. Man, good enough is not good enough. Strive for more, strive for better. And don't confuse being tired of something with being finished with it. Yeah, you may feel like you want to be finished with it, but just because you're tired of it does not mean that it's done. Finish what you start. And there's something to be said about that nobody may notice. And that's where the craftsmanship comes into the conversation. What about that stuff you can't see? Some things you fix in that final 10% of the job will never be noticed. They'll never be noticed. Your client might never know. You know, if it's a camp program, the camper might never know. Your own family might never know what it is. And some things don't get noticed. And nobody is going to walk up and say, hey, good job fixing something that nobody ever knew was wrong. But you know, and this is, I'm terrible at this. I know it's wrong. It's got to be fixed. If I know it's wrong, I won't be able to sleep at night. Because that's where personal standards become important. Your name is going on it. It's got to meet a standard. And this can't be the standard that's good enough. If you only do exceptional work when somebody is watching, that's not really a standard. If it's only exceptional because somebody's watching you do it, that's not a standard. That's a performance. That's a performance that you're putting on. That's the smoke and mirrors, right? That's a facade. It's not really who you are. Be that person, though. Excellence is caring about certain details even when nobody will ever know you cared about them. That's excellence. But that last 10% can also become a trap, right? And you got to understand that. There are things that don't deserve another 10%. And there's a difference between being excellent or great and being perfect. Perfectionism can result in a waste of money, a waste of time. It can exhaust people. It can prevent you from getting something done or out the door. It can turn a good leader into somebody who's impossible to satisfy. We've all dealt with a perfectionist. We've all had them in our lives. They are simply unable to be satisfied. No matter what you do, it'll never be good enough. It will never be great. It will never be exceptional. And it damn sure won't ever be good enough for a perfectionist. And if you're the perfectionist, you know who you are. I'm talking to you. Nobody's ever going to make you happy because you're a perfectionist. Let go. And that's what makes a great leader. They understand when good enough is actually good enough. You're within the tolerance. They understand that perfection is unattainable. Greatness will suffice. Good enough in some instances will suffice. Because you can spend another $50,000 fixing something that nobody's ever going to see that doesn't affect the outcome. And that's not what we're talking about here. That's not excellence. That's not greatness. Spending $50,000 on something that's never going to be seen and never going to affect the outcome or the performance of the product is not what we're talking about. And if somebody's demanding that, that's not excellence. That's not demanding excellence. That is not demanding industry standards or good enough. That is demanding perfection. And that is ego. Ego gone wild. It's my building. It has to be perfect. We've had those people, right? People in our lives. It's not everything has to be perfect. Everything is not perfect. Everything is not going to be perfect. And I'd be willing to bet that 90% of it is not perfect. But that 10% that is, or that is great, or that is exceptional, that 10% can sell the project, can sell the job, can sell the camp program, it can sell whatever it is that you're working on. That last 10% matters. And like I was saying, knowing when good enough is one of the jobs of a leader. When to push harder, that's the job of a leader. Because we got to make the call, right? We got to know, what do we fix? What do we accept? You know, what actually affects the finished product? When they pour that concrete and it's wavy as all get out, that translates through the flooring and it feels like you're walking on an ocean. You have to know that when you're pouring the concrete. You have to know when that finish is good enough and when it's not. And this episode fires me up, I got to tell you. You can hear by the way I'm talking. I get fired up about this stuff because I am the person who knows what it means to be proud of the work that we do. You know, what is cosmetic? What is craftsmanship? What's ego? What's worth the additional time and money? I get all that. I live it every day. And I work with people who don't always see it that way, and it drives me crazy sometimes. But I have also learned that I cannot do everything. I cannot be the only person making these calls all the time. As a business leader, as a business owner, I know that my business will never grow and thrive if I'm the only one who sees it this way. And I'm not asking for perfection from anybody. All I'm saying is that you got to hit the standard. You got to hit the standard, and you got to know that the standard matters. When I say that's good, we're done, you can bet your butt that it's good and we're done. When I say fix it, I'm not just saying fix it because I want to hear my self-talk. It's actually screwed up and it needs to be fixed. And wisdom is knowing the difference between those two, right? Because your name's on it. My name's on it. My name is on everything that is done in the businesses that I own. People are working with me. I'm paying them to do their job. I want their job to be done in a way that meets the standard that I expect it to be done. Because it's my building. It's my name on the building. It's my name on the ranch. It's my name on the camp program. It's my name on the podcast. It's my name. And I am damn proud of my name. You may not like me, but that's your problem. You just got the side of me that you deserved. And eventually people experience the finished product, right? Without knowing everything that went into creating it. And we see this a lot in construction. Especially in new builds. People aren't out there every day working on the job. They don't see what's going into it. They don't know the problems that you overcome. They don't know how exhausted you were, and they don't know what it costs, and they don't know how close you came to saying, screw it, that's good enough. All they see is what is left behind. That's all they see. They don't appreciate all the other crap. All they see is the finished product. What did you do? How did you leave it? That's where the 10% matters. That's where the 10% matters. How are you leaving it? Nobody remembers the 90% of the effort that you put in. Nobody remembers your good intentions to make it great. They remember what you delivered. You know, they don't go out there and they say, you know, that building went up so fast. You should have seen the first, 10 months of it. It was amazing. The last 2 months took forever. Nobody says that. Eventually, though, something gets handed over, and the question ends up being, what did you actually leave behind? And if you think about it, and you apply it to everything we talked about, it is much bigger than just a construction project. We're talking about your life. What did you leave behind? We had a birthday the other night for my daughter. She turned 27. And I wrote her a card on the back of a picture. It's not a card, it was a letter. On the back of a picture of her when she was a baby and I was holding her. And I was much younger and I had all my hair. It was a nice picture. It was a good picture to look back on. But you can tell that it resonated what was written on the card. Because it was not about the 90% of her life that was before 27. It was remembering the 90% of her life, but realizing that the last 10% of what she's become is exceptional. And you think about that. How are you raising your kids? How are you raising your kids? How are you building your buildings? How are you treating your spouse? How are you living your life? Are you living it where the 90% is good enough? Or are you putting in that extra 10%, that finish, the final 10%, to reach a level that few people want to do because it takes effort and time? Because you don't get to explain it. You don't get it. You don't get to the point of everything you intended to fix. You don't get to tell everyone how difficult it was. All of that work and effort will stand on its own. My daughter read that letter after the birthday party. She was at home and she said, it was amazing. I love you. Thank you for everything. And that's when you know that it's not just good enough, it was great. I hope to God that all of my kids can say that it wasn't just good enough. What you did was great. And I hope that the buildings that I build, when they hand it over, the owner says, that's not just good enough, that is great. There are some owners who will never be happy. They are the perfectionists. They are the ones with the egos that are bigger than the king's lair here. They're never going to be happy. And they're out there and they drive me crazy. And those are the ones I wish I didn't ever meet. Because I don't want the contract with those people. I want somebody who knows that the goal is greatness. Perfection is the goal. But they also understand that perfection is unattainable. There is only one instance of perfection in the history of the world, and that is Jesus Christ. The only thing that was ever perfect was Him. Everything else, great, exceptional, or sometimes it's good enough. Starting takes courage. Building takes work. And finishing well takes pride. Maybe greatness isn't doing something enormous. Maybe sometimes it's simply having enough pride in what you're doing to recognize that when it's almost right and having enough discipline to finish, that's the part that matters. Not because anyone's going to notice, not because someone is going to congratulate you, but because your name is attached to it. You can say that I created this, that I built this. So when you're tired, when everyone else thinks it's done, and when good enough would probably be good enough, and you're standing there looking at the last 10%, ask yourself this: what does my name mean? Royal decree here: finish what matters. Not everything needs to be perfect. But if your name is on it, make damn sure that you can be proud of it when you're no longer there to explain it. The last 10% is where good enough ends and your standard begins. I am King Roberto, coming to you from the King's Lair. If you like this episode, share it with somebody. We're always encouraging new listeners to join us on the podcast. Send me an email, hit me on Twitter, it's X, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching it, listening to it, hit the like button, get the word out. Let's build the podcast up and get some more listeners in there. And until the next podcast, I will see you or talk to you later. Goodbye.